everybody. I just wanted to do a short recording for you all on how to complete the pre-planning reeval checklist in SharePoint. We reviewed this in the eligibility redeterm training, but I know that was a long, extensive training, so it was hard to let everything sink in. So now that intake time is almost over, what you all need to do starting this month and into next month is really look through your caseload workbook and find your students that have an eligibility date that is due December 2016 and earlier. So any student that has an eligibility that is up this school year and into December of 2016 of next school year will need to be held this year. And that's just so if testing is needed that we have time to get that all completed. If you have a student on your caseload that has an eligibility due this school year in December 2015 or earlier, there's a different process to follow, so you'll want to reach out to your lead. But any students that have an eligibility due date from January 2016 to December 2016, you'll want to make sure you follow this process. So what you're going to do in SharePoint, you can find this document, and this is located in, let me see if I can scroll through. This is located here in the school-wide, in the SPED tab, 1516 school-wide special ed department-wide docs. If you do forget how to do it, you can look here. There's how to locate pre-planning eligibility checklist form and how to locate the tracker. So when you click on that, it's going to give you the directions. The form is on the new SharePoint website, and it tells you to click on the SPED tab. This is one way to do it. You can view all site content, or you can just go directly to here, which is what I just showed you. This is where we are right now, important forms, and then the checklist is there. The important thing to note, and I'm going to pull up the checklist here in a second, you're going to want to make sure you upload that checklist to the proper place. And there is a tracker for that. There's a pre-planning reevaluation checklist tracker, so you're going to want to load that there. Okay, this tells you how to locate the tracker just in case you forget after the recording. It is, again, in SharePoint. You click on the SPED tab, click on View All Site Content, and this is located under the list where all your other trackers are, like the related service referral. And then you're just going to follow the same process you do when you send your when you send the checklist to your lead to activate an IEP, or you do a related service referral tracker. The same thing is for the pre-planning checklist. So let me pull up the form. Here is the checklist version. It's still in that important forms file right here. We clicked on this and important forms, and this gets us to here, and here's the checklist form. So again, you're going to complete this for all students that have an eligibility or redetermined due date from January 2016 to December 2016. So you're really going to want to take time to do this for each of your students that has that due date. Make sure you do not load this form in Infinite Campus. It only gets loaded into the tracker. All right, so you're just going to go through and fill out all of the information. If you have trouble typing in the forms here, try a different internet browser. Sometimes you just need a different browser for it to work. So you're just going to type all the information. So for example, student name, I'm going to pick on Matt because he just linked me, so I'm going to pick on him. You'll type their student ID, their date of birth, and then their current eligibilities. And make sure you list all that apply. So if they have a secondary or a tertiary eligibility, make sure you include all of those on that list. You're going to include the date of the current eligibility and then the due date of the eligibility. And remember, that's always three years. So if I had one held 9/1/2012, it would be expired because it would be due today of 9/1/2015. So you just add 3 years to that date. The date of the psychological evaluation or report. We may have some new students where we don't have that on file. Sometimes you can get this date too. If you don't have the actual psych eval, you can get that date from the eligibility report. If there's not even an eligibility report on file, then obviously that's something we'd have to get. So that's something that you're going to want to reach out to the parents to get. Date of the hearing form and vision form, or if there's no form on file, you can just check that box there. So then you're going to scroll down, and this is important for current eligibility. You don't fill in every single eligibility area. You only scroll down to the area that that student has an eligibility in. So if they only have an autism eligibility, you would only fill in this section. If they have an autism and a speech language impairment, you would fill in autism, and then you would scroll down and find speech language impairment. So you only fill in the areas of eligibility that that student is eligible for. You don't need to fill in any other. Then you're just going to go through and you're just going to fill in all the areas that apply. So I'm just going to scroll through. Say the student had an autism eligibility. Is there a documentation of delay, arrest, or inconsistencies in their developmental rates? So is there a medical documentation on file? Or in the psych report, does it talk about this, how their motor and sensory and social or communication skills are affected, yes or no? Is there a documentation of difficulties in social interactions? And that could be within the IEP. It could be something you've observed or the parents told you about, and that it's documented. It could be in the psych eval report. Yes or then you're just going to select yes or no. Is there documentation of the use of verbal or nonverbal language? Again, if pragmatic's an issue, that's most likely going to be in a speech language eval. Or if they are receiving speech language services, there might be documentation there. And again, you're just going to go through all of these for whatever area of eligibility, select yes or no. So once you've filled in all the checklists that pertain to that student's eligibility, you're going to scroll all the way down where it says continued on next page, and you're going to fill in this area. Provide any additional information not included in the checklist above or in their evaluation or eligibility report. So maybe it's something that you've talked with the parent about. Maybe they're concerned, about their language and they're not speech language impaired, or maybe you've noticed in class some behaviors, or now that mom's noticing them now that they're working at home. Any additional information that's important to note that may not be noted in any of the eligibility reports or any of the IEPs, make sure you add that information in as much detail as you can here. Then here, are you having difficulty communicating with the parent? Yes or no? Is it a parent that you've been in touch with at all, or very rarely? And then any communication that you've had with the parents, any concerns that they've noted to you, you can put dates and methods and how that's turned out with contact. Then you're going to fill in your name as the case manager. And this says date sent to lead teacher. You are not sending this to your lead teacher. So do not send this to your lead teacher. This is going to be the date that you added it into the tracker into SharePoint. So you're going to stop there. Once you've done that, you are finished. And what you're going to do is you're going to save that. Hold on, I should pull that up again. Once you've finished all that, you're going to hit print form. And you're going to PDF it as your PDF printer. Hit OK, and I'm not going to save this. And then just save it. I would save it in that student's file that you saved in your school files for that particular student. Then what you're going to do is, now you've done that, you're going to go down to the trackers where all the other trackers are. And you can see here, there's a tracker, eligibility pre-planning reevaluation tracker. I'm not going to click on that because it's going to show on all the student names. But you're going to click on that, and just as you do when you fill out the related service referral trackers, a psych referral tracker, the trackers to complete for your leads, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to select new and fill in all the information. Anything with an asterisk is required. Then what the next step will be is one of the psychologists or Rico Maddox will be in touch with you regarding what they feel, or your lead regarding what they feel would be the next step. So they may say the student needs further testing to determine continued eligibility. They may say that their recommendation is that no further testing is needed to determine eligibility, in which case you would only need to hold a redeterm meeting and not request testing. But keep in mind what they're recommending is that it's just a recommendation. Whatever they say, it does not mean that that's what has to happen. That's their recommendation, but that's an IEP team decision. So when you hold the redeterm meeting, that's what you'll discuss. and as a team decide if you agree with that recommendation, or maybe once you're talking, further things come up and you feel maybe an evaluation is necessary. So that, like I said, that's just a recommendation. So if you have any questions, just let me know. And you guys are doing great. Keep up the great work.